she's the woman I know who's made the most banana bread out of 32 bananas. I've never known a banana bread maker to make them out of 32, so it's nice to know that person who can utilize that many bananas for banana bread, and the bread is fantastic too. But this is not time to talk about food.
It's not?
No.
We do that all the time.
Well,
Do you know what I like about the banana
Last
bread?
week it
Mel?
was...
what?
Banana bread is good.
Yep.
Banana nut bread is good.
Yeah.
But banana nut bread with chocolate chips. Now that is good. Whenever you
It's
put
the best.
heavenly food in something, it's a good thing.
Everything's
Or-
better with chocolate chips.
Or just anything is better when summer makes it.
You know,
Anything is better when summer makes
I
it.
can't even argue with you. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
We're back in the middle.
Because now we agree on it, and that wouldn't be Mel in the middle.
We gotta find something we disagree about.
Right, we gotta find something to make you go, today. We gotta find something that makes Mel lean forward.
Yeah.
No, we let Robbie in on the secret that he's the villain of What Ifsville.
Oh,
We told him, we said, sorry, you're the villain.
he makes a great villain. Yeah.
He does. I said he looks like the little boss on Minions. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
No, I've heard him speak. I love listening to him talk,
The
but
Minions
haven't
guy.
seen the.
Short, bald, roundish, a little fuzzy.
Oh, I can do the bald part, but not the short and round.
Well, if we smushed you,
Yeah.
Maybe in 20 or 30 years you'd be a little shorter.
if God just put his hand upon you for just a second, Mel, you'd be rounder.
Oh,
It'd be good and shorter.
I'd become a wide body and could box out better in basketball. But again, we're not here for basketball.
Well, you don't think so.
Sports, shoes, and food. It's all we talk about on this show.
Are
What
you
Ifsville.
ready?
I'm ready.
Mel, I have a very simple question for you. Super simple.
Okay.
He always says that.
No, it's really simple. But think carefully before you answer.
Okay. Oh,
Are you ready?
okay.
Okay. Kind Tone Congregational Church. Is it inside the bubble or outside the bubble? Now you're not supposed to. This is a simple question. You're not supposed to do that on the
What's
first
the
thing.
bubble?
I'm sorry. Yeah, what's the
No, you can't do that. You were going to answer. Don't.
I like
she's no
that.
count.
Answer a question with the question.
No, that's no.
It's very
wait.
Christ-like.
That's not what we're aiming for on the show, Mel. We're aiming for Mel to be in the middle.
To be honest with you, the first thing I thought of was inside.
That you are inside the bubble.
Yep.
No, Mel.
You said, yep, like, that's not good.
I know.
Mel,
You can
we can
burst
skip
the
all the questions then and go right to Mel. Why do you think it's not good to be inside the bubble?
Because being inside the bubble makes me think of being ingrown. Ingrown and not interfacing with the world that's
You
lost.
So,
said I have like an ingrown hair?
that's right. So I was going to bring that up. That was great. See, we're on the same page.
Oh, no.
So, Mel,
Gross.
when you get
Turned
when you get an ingrown hair, what happens?
That I don't know. I don't have enough of them.
You've never had one?
No.
Anywhere in your whole
No.
body?
I don't even know. I mean, I've heard
It's
of
like
it.
a really you probably have. It's like a really big pimple. Like it looks like a pimple.
Oh.
It just hurts usually and it's really big.
No, it doesn't really. I'm trying to think the last time I had one. That is a
You
pimple.
may have.
So ingrown hairs usually
Or if you shave.
collect a whole bunch of toxins,
Okay.
and then those toxins have to go somewhere, so they create a bubble, right? So my question to you
Infected.
would be, is Kind Tone Congregational Church a toxic church or not?
No, I wouldn't say that.
So is it possible for a church to be ingrown but not be toxic?
is there aspects of toxicity? I would say, yeah, but would I say it's toxic?
But what does toxic mean for a church?
That's a good question, too. That is, relationships that are stressed or strained, where there's been offenses.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think
And those offenses,
toxic church is like a church that sucks people away from Jesus. That's a toxic church to me. Like you pull people into religion, not God. That's toxic. Because that's more dangerous than just
yeah,
nothing.
you're right. I think that's a better answer. Because if you're just giving religion, what's the point?
Right. But then they stop seeking. So they're in far more danger than somebody who's just out there flailing about.
Yeah. Wow. Because it's interesting you bring that up. You know, I'm thinking soon I'm going to talk about, are we confessional or pietistic? Because if we're confessional, that will make Christ the focus, so that we see him as being about him and not so much us being about us. And the problem with pietism, it can get people into religion more than Christ. So I think you're so right on when you say a toxic church
But
leads people into religion.
yeah. So I'm just sorry. Can you go a layer deeper in your confession versus the pietism thing, right? To me, that's like selfish versus selfless, right? It's kind of what you're saying is like, am I making it about Jesus or am I making it about me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think a lot of church people, when they go selfless, they're going selfless to go selfless. It's for the me reason of saying I'm selfless, right? Like, I'm going to give you my banana bread because then I'm selfless and I did the Jesus thing. When really, I'm supposed to give you my banana bread because I desire to see you happy, right? I desire to see you have joy. I desire to give you something. I desire for you to find happiness and joy in something at my sacrifice, right? Instead of it being like, I'm selfless, right? But most of us, it's about Jesus, so that I can say it's about Jesus. It's not really because I love someone or I love Jesus. It's so that I can say it's about Jesus. So I think like you need to go another level in that whole confessional thing versus the pietism, because I think there's a way that it can look that way and it's still very superficial and still very selfish. Like, I'm confessional and it's all about me.
Don't you like my banana bread, Mel?
No.
Like, being really.
Being selfless is more about piety than confession. That is, confession has to do with Christ's redemptive work, the gospel of Christ, all the things that God did through Christ to save us, so that justification is primary, through which we experience sanctification, which gets into our piety. And the trend, and I would agree with them, the guys at Theocast would say, things tend to drift towards pietism. Piety is good. You want to practice,
Sure.
being regular at church, being in the Word personally, being in the Word with others, being giving, as in a selfless deed that likes or does it to bring joy to others.
Yeah, but you can be all about Jesus, and it's just your new hobby.
You're right.
It doesn't,
if it's just
it
a
doesn't
hobby,
mean you love him.
right? Oh,
That's a super separate thing.
and that's toxic. If it's just a hobby,
It goes back to our talk a year ago. Are you infatuated with him, or are you in love with him?
I know. Wow, this is good.
That's what happens when
This
I start
is
with a
good.
simple question.
I
What
know.
was your question? I totally forgot. What
No,
did you say?
are you in the bubble or out of the bubble?
Out of the bubble or in the
Oh
bubble?
yeah, this
Is
weird
it-
bubble ingrown hair thing.
Is it no? Because what you guys are saying is spot on. Like, is it possible to have a in the bubble church and it not become toxic to some degree, right? And that's what you're explaining. That even the Theocast people say, yeah, it's pretty much going to go this way once you start that way.
But what is in the bubble? Does that
So-
mean no one leaves, no one comes in, no one goes out? Like,
Yep. So
are you stuck? Does it grow? Does it not grow?
okay, let's do a sports analogy because Mel likes sports. You'll just have to go with it, right?
I like sports.
For
I just don't know them all, like
for-
pickleball.
for a long time, sports were played where? Mel?
Sports were played
Where did you play sports?
backyard,
Backyard.
Okay.
Outside.
outside,
Right, even if-
driveway.
Even if you had
No,
a stadium,
street.
it was only meant to house people, right? But the elements and all the things about being outside were still there. Mm-hmm. Right? Still all right there. So man, in our great wisdom, decided that we wanted some kind of neutral where the weather doesn't affect things thing, right? So we came up
Like
with
zero skill.
domes.
Yes, right.
Bubbles.
Yes.
Right? The Syracuse Dome, the Orange
Yes.
Dome. It's just a big bubble.
Right.
Like somebody put a big top over a bubble top over a stadium, right? But what that does is it keeps everything from the outside from affecting what's going on in the inside, right? On its value, just from a million miles away, is there anything wrong with that perspective? Hey, let's create a place where the outside does not influence what we're doing inside.
Not necessarily. But it's so interesting you bring up the dome versus the stadium. I'd always prefer the stadium.
Yeah.
Listen, I played football, all those things outside.
Like you said, it takes all the skill out of it.
Now, as a quarterback, you're totally uninhibited by
Right.
those things. As a receiver,
Right.
I caught lots of balls when it was cold, when it
Yeah.
was raining, when it
Yeah.
was snowing. All kinds of things happened in football when it was, or those guys are playing soccer. But we take away all of that outside stuff, right?
Yep.
What's the value? What's the value in the outside stuff? That's what you guys were just talking about. But what is the value in letting the weather play a factor in sports?
It just brings out a new, it can have a neutralizing effect. It can have effect where you got to really dig down to see if you're going to play this thing through, play it out. I just think it calls for something extra that might not necessarily have in the domed environment.
So if I said to the two of you, a bubble church creates a sterile environment for doing Christianity, would that make sense?
No, sterile?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds crazy to me.
I know.
Oh.
I personally hate hospitals, so I'm not down with the whole sterile thing. I like it dirty.
The concept is we have these churches, right, that are inside a bubble, where we depict that nothing from the outside affects. Like they're these sterile places where, hey, you can learn and do all of these things, right? But what happens to really sick people when they get released from the hospital and go from a sterile environment to a real world environment, usually?
They get sick.
They get sick.
Mm.
They instantly sometimes get sick because they've been kept in this bubble, and then they go outside the doors and all of a sudden...
That's what we said about the lockdowns in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Keep everybody in their house
Yep,
so they don't
yep.
become immune to this thing.
Right.
It's
that's a
it's
good
the same
point.
bubble.
So
They don't know how to deal with it.
the concept is, if we have an undomed church, right, one that isn't trying to create some sterile environment, but the real world actually can view it, can see it, and affects the church, does that not help our people better? Does it not prepare our people better for what they're going out there to see?
Boy, that's a great question. Because, see, on the one hand, I see the church being called out. And there is that aspect of separation on a Sunday morning. Not that you don't invite people to come, of course, but there is that unique element of the body being present together to worship God, something that the world really isn't interested in. But are there other ways in which the church would be put into a situation that would create this unique environment of what it is to interface, interact with the world that would have a toughening effect?
So we have a world today that is becoming more and more a domed culture, right? If you don't agree with the world and you don't agree with the culture and you have a different opinion than the culture, what's happening to those people today? They're being persecuted, right? If you walk into a place
Canceled.
and you have it's the cancel culture, right? It's the woke culture. It's the all kinds of different cultures, right? But tell me really, which came first? The church's version of that or the world's version of that? Who put the dome on first?
That's a good
Church. I have a friend in Buffalo. She just joined like this new church that was like they were trying to get a building approved and trying to get a lease and trying to trying to find a building, and it kept like getting all messed up, and they were trying to get multiple buildings, and they were in the meantime though they were holding church outside all summer and spring, like out just in parking lots or in parks. And like it was really awesome. So I told her, I was like, I'm hoping they don't get a building. Like I'm really hoping they don't get a building. And
I think that's interesting.
And they just got a building, and I was like, oh, that sucks. She's like, everybody's like, why? I'm like, because they're gonna get churchized. Once they have a building,
so we know what to do.
they're gonna be ruined.
Right,
once they have a building.
We know what to do with a church once we have a building, right? So all right, so Mel,
See if it changes.
you were talking about confessionalism, right? Or polytheism, right?
What?
And
Pietism.
no, polytheism, it works the same way. Right? You're talking these big words, right? So
Frodelsberry word.
again, we're attempting in What Ifsville, right?
Yes.
We're attempting to, first of all, understand, as we did the last show, there really is a villain out there, right? Who's constantly trying to accuse the brethren, right? Constantly trying to bring us down. Most Christians that I know of feel like a failure about 24 seconds after they walk out of the church doors. Because they have an argument with their spouse, their kids are unruly, right? They don't treat somebody at the restaurant well. They don't treat the gas attendant well. They don't go to Walmart and have a good attitude, right? Immediately this. But my question is, which part of church is training up people how to handle the 30 seconds after they walk out the doors. Mm-hmm. Right, so we're teaching. I love what Summer, where she went with it, because she had no clue where we were going, right? But she went exactly where I would want to go, right? Which is, we talked about, you could be all about Jesus, but not know Jesus, right? So you have people who are hearing all about Jesus inside the church, but what are we doing to sharpen those skills where they actually get to practice? So my question to you would be, Pastor Mel, you're sitting in a room, in a Sunday school room, right?
Yeah.
And you got a bunch of like-thinking, like-minded people in your Sunday school class. That's 98% of Sunday school classes in our country, right? We're just talking to the people who know how we talk. And we challenge them to be better talkers or better thinkers. But there's no real way to really challenge them to be better actioners, right? Because action ability isn't going to be found when everybody agrees with you, right? So let's say that an atheist walks into your Sunday school class.
Yeah.
And you give your first point, right?
Yes.
We believe in the Trinity.
Yes.
Everybody goes, amen, we believe in the Trinity.
Yes.
And the atheist goes, I don't believe in the Trinity. What happens in that moment where your little congregation of people instantly are now...
Oh, I hope it would just open up into a dialogue.
No, Mel, you know how Mel in the Middle works, right? You use the phrase, I hope. So now, Mel, do tell me, the people that you're shepherding, what happens in that moment? Because I will go first and tell you that at Lakeview, right, if it's a Sunday morning service, 95% of the people would immediately clam up and go, oh no, what do we do? Somebody disagreed with the pastor. Is that okay? Can they do that? What happens? Call the police, right?
Call the police.
If it was a Sunday night here, if it was Sunday school at Lakeview, or if it was a Wednesday night at Lakeview, I guarantee you that I have people in there that would immediately...
You wouldn't even have to say anything.
Nope, they would immediately interact with this person and be like, okay, let's go, and then get their Bible open, and it would be fantastic, right? They would be ready to go. But on a Sunday morning during church, I'd have people pulling out their hair, slinking down into the seats, going to the bathroom really quick, going, oh, look at it, dinner's burning. They'd be heading for the doors, right? So now, at your church, if the atheist walks in and says, yeah, no, I don't believe in the Trinity, what really happens in your Sunday school class?
To be honest, I feel people would convey a sense of openness. Meaning, okay, here's a differing point of view. Let's not make him clam up, but let's have a discussion or dialogue that hopefully will lead him out of his atheism. Not that'll happen right there.
Could they though?
But-
Could
but-
they have that debate with them? Would they know where to go in the Bible, and would they be confident to talk about it?
That's a Summer. I don't know for sure. I don't know.
Would they drash well?
Would they? Oh, that's exactly. Would you drash well?
So, just take that and then go to the side. Is there any evidence that your people are doing that outside of the church that would make you believe that they're going to do it inside the church?
I know one guy, definitely. Definitely.
There's always that one guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
he's
it
there.
makes everybody mad, right?
No.
No.
Because I think he challenged them in such a way that it got them to really think and carry on the discussion.
So, again, would the point be people trying... Because normally what we do in our little dome world is we beat people into submission. And if we can't beat them into submission, then we're okay if they leave. Right? That's really the point. Right? Garrett King was on our show today, right? And he said something that I think speaks loudly of your church. So I think sometimes the people of Mel in the Middle think that I'm beating on poor Kyneton Congregational Church and pointing out how wrong it is all the time, right? Garrett, I believe he said something like this, and you can give the quote because you know it. He said, I came into this church lost, right? And then what did he say?
I'm leaving this church sent.
So what a great testimony to a church that somebody came in lost.
He heard the law, and that law pointed out sin. And as he heard about sin, he was reintroduced to Christ, and that just changed his life.
Amen. So obviously there's something going in within Kyneton that's reaching people.
Which tells me he didn't get religion. He got Jesus.
We would agree that Garrett definitely got Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just appreciate what Summer had to say about toxicity.
So again, are we at a point, Mal, where God might need to, right, take the big needle that he holds and start popping some bubbles?
I think that might be a healthy thing.
Did you just call God like Dr. Pimple Popper?
Could very well have called God Dr. Pimple Popper. So,
Oh, we're gonna get flagged now.
yeah, that's
I
exactly
said
right.
Dr. Pimple Popper.
I don't think so. Going back to my original question, I don't think it's possible to put a dome over your church and not have it begin to collect toxins. Right? You're going to have toxicity to some degree, even if it's not just if it's just ritualism.
Oh, because we didn't even tap into the whole. Because it just hit me. You put a dome over it, you're blocking out the light, and light makes things grow.
So
There's a whole nother 2-hour conversation on that.
So I think that is a fascinating thing because again, we've created. Here you go, Mel. Ready? We've created artificial light.
Ew.
And we're substituting that for the real light. There are churches that haven't seen the real light of Jesus in decades.
Oh, burn.
But they have an artificial light.
So I'm gonna go into church and go, raise the roof.
We're gonna have a dome like Toronto and Dallas because they can open their
but
dome.
close it when you want.
So
Like a Venus
it
flytrap.
seems to me like a good what-if-ville question would be, what if God took his big needle and popped your bubble? What would happen?
What if God burst your bubble?
There you go. What if God burst your bubble? We know that God doesn't want toxic churches. He warned the churches in Revelation about it. Right? So how long is God going to let toxic churches exist? Before
something about water and fire
something.
all over the Bible about those kind of things.
So Mel, here's the last question. You ready?
Okay.
If Kyneton Congregational Church, which is the only church you're in control of, that's why we talk about it, right? When you plant some other churches, we can name some other churches. When you make that church in What-Ifsville, then we can start talking about What-Ifsville Church, Congregational Church. But if Kyneton Congregational Church is more of a bubble church than it is an unbubble church, here's my word for the day. How do we de-bubbleize our churches?
That is a good question, which I think will need a week for processing.
I have the answer right away.
You do?
I do. You ready?
Yeah.
She's sitting right next to you.
How is it me?
I would send Summer to de-bubbleize churches.
With a giant pin.
That's what I would do.
Wow.
Because I think she could do it.
Oh.
Yeah, you wouldn't like it. It would hurt. You get sunburnt.
It's true. Imagine how people. What did people do when Moses came down from the mountain with the?
Oh, they couldn't take the light.
So what if God debubbleized churches? Could we take the light?
No way. Nope.
Ah,
You ever see cockroaches and turn a light on?
oh, scatter.
Yeah. I saw the light has a brand new meaning.
A whole lot of things have a whole lot of new meanings after this one.
Good.
And I think this might be continued. So wait and see for the next time on Mel in the Middle.